Good morning, everybody, and a happy Tuesday morning to you. A big thank you to that one on Twitter for the picture you're looking at above. There's a lot in here, a super long video again, but this setup is a little different. So we're going to have some royal family stuff, and Harry, Meghan stuff is mixed into the whole thing. So there's just a lot to cover, but it's all kind of together in one video instead of half and half. You know what I'm saying? So let's just jump in and get busy because there's a lot. Let's go. We're starting off with the fact that it was Father's Day. King Charles marked Father's Day by putting up a fabulous photo of him and his father. This picture also made a little bit of a show on Twitter, but yeah, I wouldn't have looked at that. Kensington Palace released unseen photos of William with Charlotte. Now, this was not just for Father's Day, this was also because it was William's birthday. And royal fans issued a lot of complaints. They wanted all the children in the picture, not just Charlotte. For those who don't know, William turned 44. And so they put out the best pictures of him through the years. Let's look at those really quickly. First, we have him leaving the hospital with his mother and father after being born on June 21st, 1982. Then there's the picture of them when they went to visit Australia and New Zealand. Then you have Prince William making his Buckingham Palace balcony debut after Trooping the Colour in June of 1984. We have Prince William enrolling at Eton College in 95, following the tragic death of his mother walking behind her coffin, because there was another child walking behind the coffin. We have Prince William on a walkway in Chile during his 10 weeks of his gap year. He did a trek. Next up, we have the unusual start to university, but he met Catherine, the love of his life. Then after finishing his degree, we have his attention to the armed forces, where he enrolled at Sandhurst Military Academy in 2006. Then, of course, he became engaged and he married Catherine. Then he became the father of 3 beautiful children. And we also know that William has long been devoted to the environment. He launched the Earthshot Prize back in 2020. Then we know he played a key role in his father's coronation in 2023. And then also in 2023, William launched his homelessness initiative, Homewards. Very busy man. You know, we recently found out from William that Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis maintain a kitchen garden at Amer Hall, which is their country retreat, and the young royals grow strawberries, raspberries, and lettuce in the patch. This information came out while William was at the Apricot Center in Devon, and he said that he was discussing regenerative growing methods, and he said to the farm's managing director how hard it is to stop the kids from eating all the fruit before it fully ripens. I could totally see that. In talking about the children, you should know that King Charles's official gift shops at Buckingham Palace recently launched a new Tea at the Palace line of plush toys that are the royal family's take on trendy. They're Jellycat stuffed animals. Now, of course, the younger royals love Jellycats. The children are known to be massive fans of this plush craze. And so this new collection features items inspired by a traditional British afternoon tea, specifically designed to delight his grandchildren and children everywhere. I think that's interesting. You have a teapot and teacup, a cucumber sandwich, a strawberry cupcake, and a cake and tea tray set. Now, it's called Children's Currency. We know that Prince William and Princess Catherine previously referred to them as such after getting some Jellycat gifts for his children. Love it. Talking about Prince George, we know he's going to be attending Eton College, and apparently the headmaster resigned, and so they're waiting for the announcement in the next few weeks of who is going to be taking the helm. It'll be interesting to see who runs the school. And again, with Prince William, it is understood that as patron of the Football Association, he will not be attending the World Cup final in the United States unless the 3 Lions make it to the World Cup, which, I mean, why else would he go, to the United States to watch England in the World Cup if they're not in the final? You know what I'm saying? There's no point for him to come to the United States unless they're in there. I get it. Next up, we had a royal wedding. A cousin to Prince William married Nico Macaulay in Catherine Wolsey's tiara, which looks completely different from the wedding in 1961. So almost exactly 1 year ago, she announced her engagement, and her new husband were the picture of newlywed bliss in this first picture that came out. Of course, it was exclusively to Hello magazine, so I guess she sold the rights. But it was a custom wedding dress created by a sustainable designer, and her late grandmother, we know, passed away, and so she was wearing her tiara. It was the Kent Pearl and Diamond Fringe Tiara, which the Duchess of Kent wore on her wedding day back in 1961. Princess Marina had gifted the diamond headpiece, which she inherited from her mother-in-law, Queen Mary, to her son, Prince Edward's bride, Catherine Wolsey. And then, of course, it's been passed on since then. She was a gorgeous bride. We also saw some pictures of the reception, and of course we see who's there at the reception, other family members. Anyway, it was a beautiful wedding, and yeah, she looks great. William and Catherine did not go. They may not have been invited. I'm not sure. We'll continue. All right, really quick, I want to touch on this before we move on. We know that Catherine started a visit on May 13th. It was her first solo trip abroad since she was diagnosed with cancer and completed her chemotherapy. So now that she's in remission, she's been gradually returning to public duties while prioritizing her health and her family life with the children. And there was a real sense of optimism around Catherine when she set off for Italy with everything that, she had been going through. Well, I think we all know who was saying nasty things, and it's very discouraging and disorienting for Catherine when criticism comes up, when it targets her for nothing more than trying to make a positive difference in the lives of vulnerable children. And William was really protective of Catherine while she was resuming her schedule. And so behind the scenes, apparently, aides that were with Catherine were asked to do as much as possible to minimize Catherine's stress around her while she returned to public duties, and William was absolutely livid at what was being said about Catherine. I can see it. All right, let's move on now. We have Royal Ascot Day 5, the last day. Let's look at who was in the carriages and what was going on. But let me just say, I love this vibrant blue outfit that Camilla had on. I thought she just looked lovely. So carriage 1, of course, we had the King and the Queen leading the royal procession, alongside Bruff Scott, who is a racing journalist and broadcaster, and his wife, Susie Scott. Now, before we move on to the other carriages, it was seen, there were some pictures taken of Charles deep in conference with Sir Francis Brooke, the chair of Ascot Holding Authority Limited, and the man who, among other tasks, oversees the operations and not least the guest list of the royal enclosure. Now, for those of you who don't realize it, they're saying that Royal Ascot is actually a massive philanthropic enterprise, which, when you think about it, it is. And I also saw an article where they'll say that while the actual racing, which is really betting and hosting in the royal box, the king offlays, if you can believe this, a beaver skin. That's right. And the ladies in attendance, of course, the Queen included, do not remove hats. But gentlemen have to remove their hats. And so there is an area where you can put your top hats. They put a little thing on it so that you know whose is whose, because after all, one looks just like another, don't they? All right, let's move on. All right, let's move on to the carriages. In the second carriage, you have Mr. Colin Chilsom, the Baroness Chilsom of Awipen, the Earl of de la Vore, and the Countess de la Vore. In the third carriage, Mr. Neil Wilson, Mrs. Neil Wilson, Lord Ashton of Hyde, and Lady Ashton of Hyde. Ooh, that's a mouthful. And in carriage number 4, Mr. and Mrs. Orlando Fraser, Mrs. Barbie Albritton, and Lady Weatherby. I think everybody looks lovely. It was noticed that on this last day, newlyweds Peter and Harriet, who we know were just married on June 6th, were invited by Charles to join again for the last day. And Harriet was in this absolutely gorgeous, stunning white maxi dress and matching hat. And she had a little pink handbag with her. These two look so happy. Now, also noticed was the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. They were there with their daughters, Ladies Rose Gilman and Davina Windsor, along with granddaughters Senna Kauhai Lewis, Lady Cosima Windsor, and Lila Gilman. Now, also seen milling about in this area was their son and daughter-in-law, which they're known as the Earl and Countess of Ulster. This is a really good-looking family, and I'm glad that after her birthday, the Duchess of Gloucester decided to make another stop with her children and her grandchildren. I don't think we see them at too many occasions, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm glad to see them. Now we're going to move on back to Peter and Harriet because, you know, they're standing up there on the balcony, and I got to tell you, they were looking very newlywedish. I didn't think that royals were supposed to put their hands on family members in that specific way when you're out in public. I mean, okay, yeah, they're newlyweds, and they're so cute together. Obviously, they weren't the only people up in the box, but it was pretty obvious that Peter had a winning horse because they were watching the races, and then all of a sudden Peter throws his hands up and he's jumping up and down, so I'm guessing that their horse won. That's what it looks like to me anyway. Good for him. Queen Camilla, in the meantime, was seen presenting the trophy for the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Stakes to the owner, whose name is Sheikha Hissa bint Hamdan Al Maktoum, Sheikha Maktoum bin Majah. Okay. Whew. And as usual, I would like to give a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce on Twitter, as well as Carol M., for their takes on what everybody was wearing to this particular day at Royal Ascot. All right, you guys, it's time to move on. The jockey also got something as well. All right, let's move on to Andrew. We know that he has a stalker, and his name is Alex Jenkinson. He's 39 years old. And in May of 2026, he allegedly chased Andrew on foot and in a car while wearing a ski mask and camouflage near Marsh Farms, which we know is on the Sandringham estate. Police found him in possession of a wood-handled axe and a rock. So after his arrest, the police analyzed his phone and discovered he had been researching methods of killing, weapons, and other members of the royal family, including Princess Charlotte and the Princess of Wales. And so as a result of the escalating threats, the court granted an interim stalking protection order in court, and a full hearing for a long-term order is pending, and a criminal trial is going to be coming up. Wow. So Andrew now believes that he is the most at-risk member of the royal family because of all of the controversies and the lack of taxpayer-funded security. And he has requested enhanced protection after this whole stalker incident. We know he was stripped of his titles and he lost his police protection in 2022, which really leaves him vulnerable, especially since relocating to the Sandringham estate, which is way more public. And sources close to his office argue that his security risks are greater than ever because of all the public scrutiny and fixated individuals drawn in by the media. So while he believes that he needs around-the-clock state protection, he's not going to get it. At the taxpayer expense, at least not. Maybe his brother, the king, will pay for it. We'll see. All right, next, I want to bring this up because I think it's important. Dame Jacinda Ardern wrote a book. She's the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, and she said that she believes that they will become a republic in her lifetime. Now, this woman, who's 45, was the youngest Prime Minister in New Zealand in more than 150 years. When she was elected, she was only 37 years old. Her tenure lasted until 2023, and she did a really good job. Don't forget that she is the young lady who ended up being in the Live to Lead thing that Harry and Meghan released on Netflix, and she came out with a statement saying, that she did it way before Harry and Meghan were involved because she wanted nothing to do with it. Apparently what she wrote was that it was not top of the agenda for New Zealand because there's so many other important things going on. But if you ask the question, many would say it's something that should be in the future. And it's a complex picture because of the Crown's relationship with the Indigenous New Zealanders. All right, here we go. This is where we start the mix. Now, what they're saying, I've told you already that Harry wants to take his kids to visit Diana's grave. But I think we all know at this point he'll be doing that because he's going to want some footage for Netflix. Don't forget, they're doing a doco about the 30 years since Diana died. And as far as the whole William and the fighting, there are reports that William is pushing back against Charles's quiet efforts to reconcile with Harry and Meghan. He feels very betrayed by the couple's explosive public interviews in the book, and he told the king that forgiveness has a limit, and he's trying to freeze Harry and Meghan out of upcoming family events. Now, William reportedly caught wind of these peace talks, and he confronted, it's being alleged, the king in a heated exchange, saying that having Harry and Meghan come back even temporarily would destroy the family's remaining stability. I have to say, I think he's absolutely correct in that. And following William's stance, Charles reportedly instructed aides to cancel any informal events to invite the Sussexes to family functions. So royal watchers expect the other senior royals, William and Catherine and, Anne, to completely avoid Harry and Meghan during their visit. I think it would be a big blow to William to just bring Harry back like nothing happened. And I have no doubt that William is going to say to Charles, listen, if you're bringing him to Sandringham, I'm not showing up with my children. I don't want my children anywhere near him, and I don't want to be anywhere around Harry. And you really can't blame him for his attitude. But this whole narrative that's coming out now that William is frosty with his father and he's drawn a line. And have you guys noticed they did do that with Catherine and Meghan? If you liked one, you had to hate the other. Well, now they're trying to do that same thing with Charles and William. In the meantime, you get reporters like this woman who loves the Sussexes putting out incorrect news. She said that Prince William did a total of 57 events while his father managed 76 and Princess Anne did over 100. But actually, she was incorrect. Had this woman bothered to do her research, she would have known that William did 117 engagements in the period from January 1st to June 13th, doing more than his father. And Anne doesn't have 3 young children at home. Unbelievable. This fake crap they put out because they happen to love Harry and Meghan. Now, in the meantime, I've warned you about this fake news. We're hearing they were offered a stay in a royal estate. And if you read deep into the articles, you will see that they have yet to respond to the invitation. So I personally believe that they are going to be staying in a hotel, because if the palace was too, unsecure for Harry, it'll be the same for his family. All right, let's move on to what I consider to be one of the big stories of the day, and that's the fact that King Charles is making history by becoming the first British monarch to voluntarily publish his personal tax bill. And this is part of modernizing the institution and increasing public accountability. His tax information for the 2024-25 fiscal year will be released this week alongside the annual royal financial accounts with the 2025-2026 details planned for next year. So it will show the earnings from private lands such as Balmoral and Sandringham, his personal investments, his commercial assets, and income generated from the extensive property and land portfolio held by the Royal Trust, which is the Duchy of Lancaster. For those of you who don't know, the king is exempt from paying income tax, capital gains tax, or inheritance tax, but he voluntarily started paying income on his private revenues back in 1993 when he was the Prince of Wales, and he continues since he got on the throne. BBC News had something to say about all this. I love it. Listen to this.
We've heard tonight that the king is going to do something no other monarch has ever done before and release his tax returns to the country. This is unprecedented. Of course, William, Prince of Wales, has already done this. He's saying he's going to do the same now, the king. Good move, Andrew?
It's a matter for His Majesty. If that's what he chooses to do, that's entirely down to him. I personally think the royal family are in a different category and they should be treated differently. They're there for the service of the nation. The jobs that they have are not, they don't apply for these jobs.
Yeah.
And the properties they own and the money accrued through the Crown Estates and the other income that the royal family receive, that money's ploughed back into the running of the royal family. They pay a lot of tax to government, which supports the United Kingdom. I just don't think you can ever look at the royal family and treat them like normal working people. That never will be the case in a constitutional monarchy.
Yeah, is it removing some of the mystique? Are we normalising them too much now? Of course, the cancer stuff really normalised them. Are we taking them away from these sort of godly figures to becoming just normal people? Is that dangerous, Louise?
I don't think so, and I think the King is acting incredibly sensibly after what's just happened with Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, and after all of the financial shenanigans going on around him and around his role. The King is absolutely determined to save the monarchy. He knows what the public wants. They want transparency. Now, I agree with Andrew that the royal family are an incredible asset to this country, and frankly, as a dual citizen of the United States and the United Kingdom, whatever we're paying His Majesty, it isn't enough. He put Keir Starmer's mess right with Donald Trump in a way that literally cannot be overstated.
It's his finest hour. 100%
Amazing,
agree.
amazing.
I thought the King was absolutely... Not that everyone loves the King, but I think, and I can understand there's people who've got political preferences about the King that they don't like, and I think you can agree and disagree on that. However, that was an incredible moment for our country.
It was an incredible
superbly
moment.
well.
And I will say that after Donald Trump was out of office the first time, when he wrote to the King always wrote back in a very friendly way. The King understood that he may be elected again, and he's very personal and affable. At this point, he's a national security asset. And whatever he's getting, I think we should double it.
For those of you who don't know it, in the last 10 years, the revenue paid to the Exchequer is over £5 billion, and that's used for public spending. Now, really quickly, we knew that Harry and Meghan were having monetary issues. You know, Meghan's friends with billionaire Sarah Blakely, and she's friends with other people that are not just millionaires, but billionaires. Victoria Jackson lets her use her private jet and her brownstone in New York whenever she wants. But now Harry and Meghan have a new reality because their earning power is going down the drain. Their bills are exploding and everything that they had is gone. We know that she wants Lauren Bezos' lifestyle. She surrounds herself with other billionaires like IT Cosmetics founder Jamie Kerm Lima, who apparently gives Meghan rides to high-profile business summits on her private jet and shows support for her latest ventures. The problem is the money's not flowing, and you can't expect these other people to pay for your lifestyle. She should have been more careful. Meghan has tried to create new revenue streams by giving money to companies like Clever Blends and Sesta Collective and Highbrow Hippie and all these, the one-off platform. Because I think Meghan realizes the merching of the clothing is really the only revenue stream she can control. So what does Meghan do on Father's Day? Well, she ignores her own father, who literally gave her the life that she has up until she met Harry, and she puts up something for Father's Day. When everything else fails, rebrand and use your children. So Meghan took a picture for, Father's Day, and she goes, "They're so lucky to have you. We all are." She still doesn't use his name, and she puts up this picture of Harry, hugging the kids. First thing I want to point out is that once again, the room is very beige. Beige floors, beige curtains, Lily dressed all head to toe in beige. The only one allowed to have crystal clear pictures is Meghan. So a big thank you to Her Most Imperial Majesty Queen of Cats for having her friend put the photo through AI and clean it up. This is when you can really see the Photoshop fail. There's something wrong with Archie's right ankle. It's like bow-legged. And what is going on with Archie's left great toe? Something is definitely wrong there. Number 2, Lily's hair isn't red anymore. Then again, neither is Archie's. They're both brown hair. It's pretty obvious that Meghan reads what we write, because this time she put shoes on the little girl, although now Archie is barefoot with dirty feet. Couldn't help but notice that Archie is wearing a England FIFA shirt, even though, Harry's not loving England so much. So is anybody else really surprised that she took this opportunity to merch the children's clothing? That tells you right there that everything that this woman does is performative. She's doing it with the backpack, which, by the way, is a leash, so she can leash her daughter like an animal. Then she's merching the shirt and skirt set that the little girl is wearing on this Zara website. Now, I'm sorry, it's Father's Day, and you've decided to take this opportunity to try to make money. If that doesn't tell you people something, I just don't know what does. You know, I can't help but notice that Archie isn't hugging Daddy. His arm is just kind of laying there limp. You know what? I get this weird Weekend Daddy vibe picture from this. I get this weird vibe from it. Like he's just seeing the children for the weekend because he's not around all the time. You know what I'm saying? There's just something wrong with this all the way around, but whatever. All right, you guys, you know what I want. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications after you put your fabulous comments down. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my father's book, which remains up for sale on Amazon, a link to my Amazon wishlist, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.